All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Craig Monroe. I am the founder and editor of Elegant Literature, and I'm joined today with our most recent award winner, Kim Holland. Kim, congratulations. You are an award-winning author. How do you feel?
Thank you so much. I'm so honored and excited. I love elegant literature. I never in a million years thought I would actually win. I mean, just being published was so cool, and I just love the magazine, and I'm thrilled.
That is so great to hear. Thank you so much. Kim is the winner of our 48th issue of Elegant Literature. The theme was Snowfall and Silence, and Kim has won with her story Oleander, which is absolutely fantastic. Such a great story. For anybody who, I say this every time, if you're watching this video and you haven't read the story, pause it, go download the magazine and read the story. The magazine is completely free. Read the story and then come back because the rest of this call and interview will make so much more sense if you know what we're talking about. But for anyone who has read the story and just wants a quick refresher, and because Kim, we want to hear about it in your own words, that's why we're here today. Can you take like 30 seconds to a minute to just refresh us? Tell us about what your story is about in your own words. Don't worry about spoilers. Like we should have read it. We're going to be spoiling it through the whole call. So just tell us, give us the lowdown in your own words.
So the concept is that everyone on Earth basically has a being tied to them called a timekeeper. So it's most people cannot see their timekeeper. The main character in my story can. And the timekeeper's job at the end of your life, when your life is at its end, is basically to kill you. And so, in my story, where, like I said, most people can't see their timekeeper or speak to them, my character, the time she can see her, and she's basically her best friend because she's a lonely kid, and this person is the closest person to her in her entire life.
Fantastic. Sorry, I expected you to mention something about her dying at the end. Uh,
Oh, I can.
yeah, I mean, we're going to be talking about it.
Yeah,
um,
so her timekeeper has to kill her at the end of the story, and hopefully that comes across as, if not touching, then a bit harrowing, dramatic, and sad, I hope, because I was sad when I wrote the ending.
I certainly was. I felt a lot of what you just said. I think I mentioned it in my judge's comments somewhere about how sort of the story is about death, but more as a duty, not as a punishment. It's a very sort of tender caress that we all things end, but they can be swaddled in love at the end, which is nice but sad. Um, yeah, it's a really, really well done and empathetically told story. This is your second publication with Elegant Literature, if I'm correct, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, fantastic. The first one was back in January of 2025 in our Dear Death issue with a story titled The Death of Death. I am sensing a
A
little bit of a
theme,
pattern
yeah.
here.
Yep.
Now, are these two stories just happen to be about death, and the rest of what you write is sort of unicorns and butterflies, or is this a theme that you like to explore in a lot of your work?
It is definitely a theme I like to explore in my work. Most of my work tends to be on the dark side. I do try to make things a little funny in some stories, but most of them deal with kind of darker themes. And I do write a lot of horror, a lot of fantasy, but not the most cheerful stuff in the world, maybe. But I hope that I can inject a little humor sometimes, maybe not in this one.
This is your second publication with Elegant Literature. Have you had publications elsewhere in the past, whether paid or unpaid? What's a little bit about your writing journey has looked like?
I have had another short story published in Writer's Playground. I made it into the Writer's Workout, it has the Writer's Games every year, and they publish an actual anthology that I had a story published in. But I think that's about it. I've been back at writing for about 2 years now, I think. And so that's what I've had published since I got back to it.
Fantastic. Well, now you have published a story that's won an award, and you are an award-winning author. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I still can't believe it. I screamed when I opened the issue, and my husband thought I was being murdered and ran in. I'm like, wait, what? It was so awesome.
That's amazing. That's actually was my next question was where were you? What happened when you opened the issue and saw the award winner underneath or the contest winner line underneath your byline? What was the first thing you did? I guess you screamed and your husband heard you,
I
but
did.
did you call a bunch of people? What was going through your mind and what did you do?
Oh, I opened the magazine and I saw that I was hopeful for this story. I liked this story. Never thought it would win. I was hopeful it would get published. And when I saw that it was, I was so happy. And I saw that it was published first. And typically in the magazine that I've seen, usually the winner isn't put first. And so when I saw that, I could not believe it. And I just freaked out and yes, called everyone I could tell about it and, just celebrated, told my kids, and they of course were like, "Ah, okay, cool." But
Good
it
job,
was
Mom.
just, yeah, basically. But yeah, it was just, oh, I was elated. Just so cool. Very happy.
Fantastic. I'm very pleased to hear that. I was thinking when it was first. I deliberated on a couple of stories. Oleander, when I really kind of sat down, I think it was a clear winner for me. But on kind of first and second pass, I had a couple that I was kind of going back and forth with, and I made the order of the magazine before. You're right. I don't normally put the award winner first when it's up to me. Um, but often what I do is I arrange the order of the magazine actually before I know what the winning story is going to be,
Hmm.
and I often have an idea of which one it's going to be, and I don't put it first, but I put yours first, and I was pretty sure it was going to win, and when I finally settled on it, going yes, this is for sure the winner. I thought, should I move it into the middle somewhere just to keep, and I was, no, it's, we got to keep
It was
everybody on their
surprising.
toes. Got to keep them
Yeah.
on. We can't look at it and go, "Oh, my story is first. I didn't win." No, no, no. It can be anywhere. It's been
All
last. It's
right.
been. I think it has been in every single position in the magazine. I should check that. Over
That's great. You should
40.
keep switching it up.
Yeah, over 48 issues. I really feel it should be. I wonder if there's a pattern in there that I could check. But that is fantastic. I love. I love the fact that you called your kids and they're like, "Yeah, great.
Yeah, I'm like,
Good
cool.
job." So for you, what is your favorite part of the story? Is there a favorite line? Is there a little section that always makes you smile or makes you wince a little bit? Is there something that really strikes you as a standout in this piece for you?
Well, I really liked, I broke it into seasons because I was trying to play with the, snowfall and silence. So, the spring when they're babies, the summer when they're little kids, and then the fall when she's in high school. And I really like the summer interlude, or vignette, whatever you want to call it, just because I love contrasting light with dark. And it's this sunny day and it's warm and it's two little girls just playing and climbing a tree. But then they're in the tree because they're getting away from a fight that the parents are having, and they're talking about the grandmother being, killed, and then talking about how the timekeeper is going, Oleander is going to have to kill the main character. And so I just love that juxtaposition of light and dark. So that was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, that's great. And interesting that you say I did not. I don't know how I didn't catch this. I didn't catch the seasonal structure of it. I was thinking of it in like a chrono. What's the word I'm looking for? A chronicle
Chronological.
of life. In like the vignettes of the life story, and I just didn't catch that. And now that you mention it, like I can just it's so plain. It's right there, kicking the leaves as they're walking around the track, and all of the yeah. What made you choose to do the seasonal structure as well as the chronicle? Because I mentioned this in my judges' comments, I think, is the chronicle structure, many scenes and different parts of a life is a risky proposition when you only have 2,000 words, because often it's very difficult to get across not necessarily a sense of character, but kind of like an impactful story because the events are so disjointed. But in this case, I think it worked very well. What made you choose to also include the seasons in there? Was it just the theme, or did you have a deeper sort of symbolic meaning for that?
I mean, mainly the theme, but also just death itself. I mean, and the lifespan of a person to me. I mean, seasons is, I think about it that way. When someone's older in the winter of their life, I mean, everything with that just resonates with me. So it had to do with the theme of Snowfall and Silence, but also just death and life and death. So that's where I came up with that.
I love it. It was fantastic. There's also this interesting sort of tension between inevitability and randomness in the story. Like the narrator's growing up knowing that someone's going to finish her off, or that she's going to die, and the timekeeper's kind of responsibility is to make it happen or what have you. But the actual death is kind of senseless. Like it's a random kind of just like a random shooting that runs away. We don't even know anything about the murder or why the robbing was happening or anything about that. Was that contrast between sort of destiny and chaos something that you set out to explore from the beginning, or was that just a byproduct of running out of word space at the end and needing to offer?
Yeah, just wanting to be dramatic, probably. I mean, to me, the a regular life ended well, and dying in your bed at home, like that's actually a great life, but it's not maybe the best and most entertaining element. So just something exciting and dramatic, and just thinking about another character, and even where the shooter's coming from, and what's going on with them, and just how everybody's lives intersect, and how often life, death is so senseless, and you just never know what's going to happen. We hope for that long life and, dying in your bed, but many people don't get that. So that's what everyone's walking around trying not to think about because it's terrifying. And that's probably why death is such a big theme in my work because it's a way to process that and, get over that fear.
Yep. Yeah, makes sense. I would very much like to die in my bed and not in a grocery store robbery, convenience store
Yes,
robbery.
on a snowy
Um,
sidewalk. No, thank you.
and you're right. You could you could have ended the story at the end of the chronicle with her dying in bed, having feared her whole life that something was going to happen and being worried about this, and lived a long, good life, and have the same sort of scene where the timekeeper lay down beside her to die. But it wouldn't. No, I don't think it would have been as impactful and as, of course, interesting story. Plus, you would have needed a lot more words to get through a few more
Mm.
vignettes, I think.
That's where they get you.
Were were there any sections that you had created, either like just conceptualized or had actually written the scenes for that you had to leave on the cutting room floor for the sake of the story?
No, because I expanded this. This was actually a contest entry in another contest that was much shorter, and I expanded quite a bit actually. I think it was like 500 words, maybe 1,000. So I did expand it and didn't add scenes necessarily. I think I still kept the four-part structure, but it wasn't tied to the seasons, and it was just you know, a little bit shorter.
So I was wondering, I took the story at supernatural face value in that, yeah, she's got this like timekeeper, Grim Reaper sort of companion who's with her all her life. But as I kind of reread the story multiple times, and in preparation for this as well, I'm looking at it and I can see that some people, some readers may have ambiguity over whether that supernatural element is really present or if it's more of an extension of the narrator's psyche, like somebody being like her protector, like her subconscious mind being a protector, keeping her self-preservation instinct, trying to keep her from harm. Is that interpretation that ever occurred to you, or for you, is it the same as a supernatural face value? How do you respond to that?
Oh no, I love that in any story where you can have different interpretations. So I tried to play up the narrator is so lonely and doesn't have any friends, and the question is she lonely because she's the weird kid who can see this person next to her all the time, or is she just someone who's different and doesn't, get along with and make connections with people? And so yeah, that was definitely intentional, especially like I tried to do it with the fall scene where the leaves are getting kicked up by the wind. I mean, that's not necessarily Oleander throwing anything at her. That could just be happening, either way. I tried. I hope I succeeded with that, where, she could not be real and it would still make sense. So,
Yeah, that's great. Because I was thinking when she was walking around the track and Oleander was they were throwing leaves at each other. I'm like, aren't these other kids looking at like leaves just being picked up and thrown at her? Like that would be like, yeah, no, there's totally somebody there. But with the wind kicking around, like who knows? Yeah, I've always loved when it's kind of a little ambiguous. It
mhm.
could be one or the other, and it's never fully explained. Do you know? Do you have an answer?
I mean, I always want things to be supernatural and exciting and interesting. So I would say yes, she's there. Plus, I'd like to think that she had an actual friend and someone to talk to and go through life with, even though her life was so short. So that would be my preferred interpretation, but I like that it's open-ended. So.
Yeah, great. Um, so can you walk us through a little bit? We've sort of touched on it here and there, the themes you like to write and the way you approach this. But can you walk us through where you came up with the idea? You mentioned that it was an entry for another contest that you then expanded to fit with elegant literature and meet our guidelines. Where did the original idea come from, and how has it evolved throughout your various drafts and submission processes?
Most of my stories start with I'll just have a clear image of something pop into my head. And if it's an interesting enough image and it, preferably I do a lot of contests, less now, but always elegant literature because I love it. It's my favorite. But getting prompts really helps me to start an idea. But the prompts will hopefully give me just a clear as day image in my head that I want to explore. And for this one, it was the two babies on their tummies looking at each other, and one is wearing a glowing necklace. And at first I didn't know what that meant, and then like almost immediately the whole concept of, she's supernatural, and then it went from there. So.
What part of the prompt inspired the images of two babies wearing a necklace?
Well, the contest prompts for this, I'm trying to remember even what the original
Oh, right,
prompts
yeah, because
were.
this was not elegant literature Snowfall prompt. This was the other the
I
was it
think
Writing Battle, did you say? Did you mention the name of the other one?
it was actually, it was writing battle. It was a while ago. I think it was like almost a full year ago. I think it was hourglass. I think that might have been the prompt
Mm,
that
yeah.
brought that image up. So I did, it was the two babies and one's wearing an hourglass, and then it went from there as to what the hourglass would mean.
Nice. And was there any snow in that version of it?
Nope. I don't think so.
All right, then nobody can complain that you expanded it and resubmitted it. Um, now, I just wanted to turn briefly to the Death of Death. This was the one where death stopped happening and the whole world just like couldn't die, and the protagonist was kind of remembering everything that happened, but he was what we found at the end was stuck at the bottom of like a cliff or something, but could not die. Was that is that my remembering the right story?
Yeah, yep, that's it.
Yeah, great. How does that thematically compare to Oleander?
Oh. Um, I mean, in
In your
one,
like
death
in within
is.
your writing world, like with it, with your ideas and your influence on it, not necessarily like an outside literary
Well, I've
comparison.
also, some things just imprinted on me when I was a kid, and Tuck Everlasting was one of those. And they don't, in the book itself, I don't think play it up as like really dark. But to me, that always struck me as incredibly dark. Like at the end, I feel like the characters wanted to die and they couldn't. And just that, it's either the inevitability of death that you're terrified of, or just living forever and just how exhausting that would be. And what makes life so great is that it's not guaranteed, and that makes, the sweet sweeter. And it's just, those two sides of the coin to me were fascinating. I just like exploring things like that.
Yeah, because they are kind of polar opposites, really. Like one, nobody can die, and in this one, you got a personal Grim Reaper that's gonna kill you. You don't have a choice. Interesting, but and tonally a bit different too. I think there's a bit more humor going
Yeah.
on in the Death of Death, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was much voicier. It had a lot of, I fell in love with that narrator. I'm still not sure if it's a girl or a guy. I like that too, leaving that ambiguous. And I like them. I think I like how they talked about I think it was a sister, and how she was incredibly rude and direct. And I had fun with that one. I really liked that character. And that story actually started off much different as well. And most of what I've submitted to Elegant Literature, I always do it at the last minute, and I don't have time for beta readers. The two that got published, I did have time for beta readers. So that's a note to anyone, like run your work by somebody because it will help you. And the ending of that one changed drastically because they mentioned, I think I start off talking about how the character is, how some people wound up, they think like wound up at the bottom of the Hudson just forever, like, either someone chucked them in there or what. And then I was like, ooh, what if my character is telling this story from a place where they are stuck or trapped or just living some horrible existence that won't end? So always good to check with beta readers.
That is a good argument for getting beta readers is both the two that you had were accepted. For anybody who is watching this who is interested in reading The Death of Death by Kim Holland in our Dear Death, Lots of Death issue, it is issue number 38 from January 2025 that you can download and read for free on the website at elegantliterature.com/magazine. So it's also a great story. And I will close down that tab. Okay, back to Oleander. Why did you choose the name Oleander for the
Oh,
timekeeper?
very good question. I think I was playing with just I tend to my stories are very plot heavy. This happened, this happened, this happened. And I have to stop myself and say, no, elaborate. A friend of mine is always, use your senses. What are you smelling? What are you tasting? What are you feeling? And so I really wanted to ground that first vignette in sensory images because that's all babies have to process the world is what they're smelling and hearing and seeing and touching. So, for whatever, I think the name Oleander is pretty too, but it's also I believe poisonous. So I figured again, playing the very pretty, very deadly, I'd play around with that.
Yeah. All right. So I looked it up and it's got connotations of like a beauty, but danger and poison, as you say. And I was really wondering, is this, it's got to be intentional. Like but sometimes I was wondering, could have been a happy accident and there could have been a further deeper meaning that maybe miss. So I wanted to hear from you, but it sounds like, I think it's a great choice. Plus, it's a lovely name. And for some reason, it kind of like, because you don't really describe the timekeeper all that much in the story, right? Like physically. Um,
Yeah, she's kind of described as like similar to the main character, but I don't really describe the main character's looks all
yeah.
that much. So
I kind of had sort of like because of the name Oleander, it kind of gave me like the haunting, beautiful vibe for somebody. But I don't who knows what people are gonna pick. But I really like the name Oleander. Was the timekeeper creation, was that based off of anything specifically? Like they're kind of like Grim Reapers, but personal Grim Reapers, right? But where did you get the inspiration from that? Did you combine multiple things? Did you kind of just make it up? Or is it from like, is it a standard folkloric thing that I'm just not aware of?
No, I think it was just the hourglass itself made me think of death and time running out. I'm sure I read something that I just can't remember that it inspired it because I mean, nothing new under the sun. I'm sure I got the idea from somewhere, but yeah, really just that hourglass and the one has it and the one doesn't, and I think that's what kind of keyed me into that it would be a counterpart, and the one with the hourglass tends to, is the one with the control over the situation.
Oh, you know what? I want to ask you. You had mentioned that you've been back into writing for 2 years. Where did you start writing when you were younger? Why did you stop, and what got you back into it?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote all the time when I was a kid. The first thing I wrote was this series of little short stories with a friend of mine about anthropomorphic pickles. It was, of course, very creatively called Pickle Town. And so I was writing all the time when I was a kid. And then I wrote through my 20s. I wrote a book in my early 20s, an urban fantasy. And then I had kids, and all through my 30s, I was so busy. And when I'm tired, like I just don't, my creative side is just exhausted and I can't do it. So and I am not a very disciplined writer. I don't have a routine. When I do write, I have to be incredibly inspired, and when I try to force myself, it doesn't go great. So but I wanted to get back to it because I love writing and I always have this itch if I'm not writing that I need to be. And it's just this feeling of, guilt and like I should be doing something that I'm not. So I found out, well, during COVID, I joined a writing group and I started writing another book, but then it took like the book's still not finished because long form is so hard. And I wrote this complicated story that I can't finish. So I said, I need to finish something. And then I started about a couple of years ago entering contests, and the prompts helped inspire me, and the deadline of a contest, and having skin in the game by paying money. I mean, all of that really helped get me going. So I've written, and it's just nice to have a beginning, middle, and end. And if it's 500 words or it's 2,000 words, like it's just so satisfying to have something complete that you can show someone and say, hey, I finished a story. Just a good feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's your goal with writing? Like, would you love to be a full-time like a career author, or do you have a day job that you love and writing is purely just a hobby and a creative outlet? What are your goals?
Oh, I would absolutely love to write for a living. I'm not sure if it'll ever happen, but that is definitely the goal. Like I said, I'm working on a novel that I will eventually finish, fingers crossed, hopefully. And when I do, I'm going to still try for traditional publishing. I'll, do that for a while. And if it doesn't work out, I'll self-publish. I mean, just having an audience, any size audience would just be so satisfying and cool. And I just, I want people to read my work. I think most writers do. And just getting to share a piece of yourself with everyone and um, that's what I want. Would I like to be a New York Times bestselling author? Of course. Is that going to happen? Probably not, but I'll keep striving for that. I mean, that's the goal.
Yeah, fantastic. What do you do outside of writing?
Like hobby wise or work wise
Yeah,
or?
work-wise, hobby-wise, both. I'm interested in knowing more about you.
Okay, I work for a financial services firm in risk management, which is a new career for me because I took a about 10-year break to raise my kids. I was in financial analysis before that, so it's not like a drastic career change, but it is different. I'm,
But it's a
definitely
little
using.
closer to being about death, risk management, stopping people from dying, like really following the writing, right?
Yeah, I guess hopefully not in financial services. No one should be dying, but but like hobby wise, I mean, writing is one of my big ones, just spending time with my kids and my husband and, family and friends. And really, I mean, writing is my main hobby. I love writing. Like I said, I can't when I'm not doing it. I feel like I should be doing it. And it's when I do and I come away with a big word count in a day. I mean, it just feels so good. So.
Yeah. How do you fit it into your life around having what sounds like, a fairly intensive job and having a family that, you're attentive and spending time with? How do you balance? Because you mentioned that if you're tired and exhausted, it's really difficult to be creative and get the words on the page. How do you fit it in with all that other stuff going wrong in your life?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I'm a night owl, and that's the time that I want to write is at night. And by the time I get to the end of my day, I'm just so tired. So when I'm, on vacation or on the weekend and I'm energized and I've got some sleep, I try to write as much as possible. But sometimes you just have to force it. I mean, that's my biggest advice to any writer is just, you got to write. I mean, that's the big thing. You can get lost in looking up how to write, what to write, all the different ways to get published. But the most important thing is to read and to write. And sometimes it feels like, walking through wet concrete, but you just have to do it. And I give that advice to myself, and I don't always follow it because I'll go, weeks without writing anything. But you have to, at the end of that, not say, I'm a failure, I'm not writing, forget it. Go back to it and keep going because that's the only way you're going to accomplish anything with writing is to do it. You have to do it.
Fantastic. I wanted to be nodding and agreeing with you vocally that whole time, and I had to force myself to stay silent because that's perfect. We're clipping that for social media, I'll tell you that. That was great advice. People need to hear it. Yeah, it's fantastic. And how did you get Oleander out? Both drafts. Like, were you on vacation or were you like this explains you telling me all this explains why you're pushing up on the deadline for most of our contests and not having beta readers because
Yeah,
you're
I'm a
struggling with
huge
time.
procrastinator. So, yeah, Elliott literature was always, I'd plan it. I'd be like, I have a whole month. I'm going to take the entire month. I'm going to start with a rough draft, write it a few times, get beta readers. Like 3 days before the deadline, I would go, okay, I really have to do this now. And then I would start. But a deadline, I mean, that's what I need. That's like when I wrote Oleander originally, it was for a contest. I kind of drove my husband a little crazy there last year because I was entering contests like every weekend and it was a little too much. I burned myself out with that. But that's what I need. I need some sort of deadline that forces me to do it. And nothing, I mean, nothing has been better for my writing than writing short form because, I mean, with a novel, you can just meander forever, but you have to have a beginning, middle, and end, and you have to give to make people care about your characters in such a short word count. You really need to, that's a skill set that you need to develop. So it's been so helpful.
And the deadline it makes it makes you have to finish, right? So
Yeah,
and then you
especially if
move
you
on to
pay
the next
money.
one.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've had people tell me that they like elegant literature because they have to because of the subscription model rather than the pay like 'cause a lot of contests is pay to submit. And they'll go, "Oh, I intend to submit," and they won't get it done in time, so they will just not pay and not submit.
Yeah.
Whereas with Elegant Literature, because it's a subscription, because it's a recurring membership every month, they're like, I'm committing to pay the $10 every month. I have to put in a story. And I've had people criticize the model, but I've also had people say it is the thing that's made me write 12 stories this year rather than one or two.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And I have a lot of friends agree too, who just love it because they try to make a story of some sort every month to submit because, I mean, everybody wants to be in elegant literature, new writers. The artwork is beautiful. And I mean, the stories are of such high caliber that I've read. I read it every month. I mean, I love your magazine. It's great. So,
thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That is kind of the perception I want people to have of it.
yeah.
But also I want like knowing that people feel that way about it means that it's a good thing for writers to get into that will help them. which is ultimately what we're here for, is to sort of help new writers get started, get some validation, first of all, get their work in print, well, digital print, get it out into the world anyway, get
Hmm.
paid for it, and kind of get that start to like kick them into start getting, some. I've had a lot of people that after getting published with us, they told me that they started to take their career seriously at that point and like really kind of started focusing in on how to move forward with writing in a more serious capacity, which I love because that's the whole point. So thank you very much for those kind words. They're always
Of
really
course.
appreciated. Did you mention, I don't think you actually mentioned in there what the situations were when you were writing Oleander. How did you carve out that, like, was the environment that you were writing it in, did it have any impact on the story, do you think?
Ah, I don't remember. For a while there, I would get a break, and sometimes I would go like one night. I know I went to a hotel and just got a break to write because I love writing in hotels. That's one of my, I love people watching and all of that. And I think that Oleander might have been one of the times, like relatively few times, but I got to get away and away from everything and just write. Like the whole point of me going to the hotel was to write, and so I could just take in, like have some nice food, a couple drinks, and just people watch. And it's just that's the perfect environment for me to write. And I'm pretty sure this was one where the original story was for a contest that I actually made a point to go somewhere where I could concentrate on it.
Do you stay in the hotel also, or are you just in the
Yeah.
lobby in the restaurant, the hotel bar
Oh yeah, no, no,
for
no.
the
I'll like
day?
stay a night, with points and just go for one night for some me time. And I mean, me time for me is writing. I mean, that's if I have the time and the energy, that's what I want to do. So.
That's awesome. I've always enjoyed hotels. Something about the timeless atmosphere in there. Like it can be any time of the day, half the time, and it's just like you can get lost in your work and not feel like you have to stop as well.
Mhm.
That's what I've always found hotels good for. Yeah, fantastic. Are any of the characters based off of real people at all?
And I
Or
mean,
like
I don't.
not you know what I mean, not based off of or like copied, but like is there inspiration behind it? Or did you really just pull sort of Oleander and the main character out of thin air?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just just kind of the real aesthetic I was going for, and playful and childlike. I mean, even when the main character is an adult in the city, I mean, she's still kind of a little bit childlike, and so I never pull like a person directly into a work, but I mean, all of us, being human is just our experiences and our experiences with other people. So, I'm always, you see other people's mannerisms and the way they look and how they interact with the world. And of course, all of that, makes it into the story. But I don't think I had like a specific, person. Like my daughter would be perfect inspiration for, someone of that age, but I would never, I just wouldn't translate that, especially a story about death, because like that would bother me, I think. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm always people watching and yeah, so I'm sure some of it makes it in there, but not like a straight, this person's gonna be Oleander type of deal.
Yeah, for sure. In Oleander too, I feel like you walked a bit of a tightrope tonally, where you sort of had like you had the warmth, of course, like you had the death. Well, we've covered that. There's death in there. Um, you had the random chaos of murder as well. But you also had a lot of warmth. You had a lot of empathy for the characters, for the burden that they had, the bond that they had, even though it was kind of a dichotomy. And you also had a bit of humor in there too, right? And like a little bit, but also in The Death of Death, you had a lot more humor. So how do you personally think about balancing those tones, the comfort versus the discomfort across your fiction when you're writing in general, not just in Oleander, but in all of your work?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's my favorite author is Stephen King, for example. And so a lot of his work, there's horror, there's death, there's destruction, but there's these characters who are so realistic, and a lot of them are horrible, horrible people, but they're always entertaining, and I always want to be entertaining. So I think that I mean, it's important to have humor, especially in a dark story like that, because that's life. I mean, there's horribleness and then there's like beauty right next to it, and it's such a if you can combine the two, I think it's a great way to, invite a reader that might not like just the dark stuff. I mean, a lot of people will say like, "Oh, I wouldn't read horror," but if you can couch it in, real life and levity and, bring them in that way, I think you can win over people that maybe wouldn't want to read the dark stuff, and just, say it's just about life and death is a part of life. So it's a balance.
It's about the human condition, as right. Like there's a lot of people that would write exclusively dark stuff, and it turns a lot of people off. But it's really just about life and the world that we know. That's I see what you're doing. Do all of your stories are you mentioned you like the supernatural stuff. Are most of your stories based in sort of the modern modern magic realism aspect of it? Because both of the ones that we've published in Elegant Literature were modern day stories with that sort of supernatural element. Is that typical of your work, or is the novel a pure fantasy novel? Do you write science fiction as well? What's the genre you kind of go for?
Well, I do. I would say that the magical realism. I don't. I mean, I admire like sci-fi writers or high fantasy writers that can just completely create a new world from scratch, and I just that's not in my skill set. So I do like to play with the real world mostly, and then layer in elements that are not of this world, and I find that very interesting. I'm trying to think of, I totally lost my thought. Darn it. Oh, I don't
Where
know.
you like to go with the modern world but layer in the supernatural.
Yeah, I was gonna say that my first book was an urban fantasy because again, it has magic and it has, fantasy, but it's in a city. Like it's and everything, all the normal physics, of the real world are there, and it just adds in an element of excitement and magic. And yeah, I tend to stick with the real world for the most part.
Yeah, fantastic. And I mentioned your novel. Speaking of that, how far along are you, by the way, on the
Uh,
novel?
I'm like 80% done of the first draft, and I've been 80% done for quite a while. It's one of those where there's a lot of characters. It's set in a small town. It's after a mysterious global event where all of the children on Earth have disappeared, and anyone near the children when this event occurred died. So anyone like with close proximity to children passes away. So my main character is a mother whose two kids have disappeared. Her husband died because he was watching them when they disappeared, and it's this small town with all these characters and all these intersecting storylines, and I'm just having the hardest time finishing it. So yeah, I'm about 80% done, and once I get that ending done, I can start cleaning it up, but I've got to write that ending.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a working title for it?
The Corner List Tomorrow, which I don't
Sorry,
know. I've had a
can
few
you say that
working
again?
titles. The Corner List Tomorrow, it's from an
The
E.E. Cummings
corner
poem.
list?
Yeah, corner lists like no corner, cornerless tomorrow.
Oh, cornerless. Oh,
Yeah.
cornerless tomorrow. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, well, we'll have to keep an eye out for that in the next, maybe not 6 months, but a couple, a year or two.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Are you working on anything else? Like, do you juggle multiple projects at the same time? Are you working on anything else as well? Like, I assume you have your one, the novel and then short stories for competitions. Do you have other creative endeavors at the same time?
I mean, I have another long form project and romance. I dabble a little bit in romance. It's to me just fun to write. It's not my, main project, but I do that and just a lot of, short story content. But yeah, I'm mostly focused on that main novel and finishing that right now. I've limited the contest a little bit so that I can try to concentrate and get it done.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. Well, a couple more questions and we'll be all finished here. All right. So, congratulations. You are an award-winning author. You're an author, you're published, you've been paid for it, you've won an award. That is fantastic. You are and I know maybe like you have your two stories published with us, you have a couple in other places as well. You're working on your first novel. So you may not feel, like you're necessarily made it yet, but I know that there's lots of people that would love to be in your position. So I'm wondering if you have any advice from your experience in the last, 2 years and even longer with like wanting to write and not being able to find the time and having to get back into it. Is there any advice that you can give to people that would be looking to kind of get up to where you are in their future, or if that's too weird, to yourself, 2, 3 years ago or something like that? Some advice about writing or about the mentality you have to have that might be helpful for them.
Yeah, I would definitely say if you can find a writing community, there's so many places online now. If you have social anxiety, you don't want to meet someone in person, there's always options online. Discord I use, it's a great place to find writing groups. I do have my in-person writing group occasionally that, life gets busy and I won't do that. But having people that can, and they can keep you up to task too. If you stop, they say, well, where are your pages? And they get you going and just write. I mean, that's the biggest thing. It's so hard sometimes. And I write on my laptop and I find myself, I'll write a few sentences and I'll go, I'm just going to check, so and so, and I'm going to check. And you're not writing, and that's what you need to do. And when it's hard, right? If you have to take a break and you have to take a little while to recharge, do it, but come back to it. I mean, that's the most important thing I can tell people is just you have to put in the work and do the writing.
Yeah, fantastic. That is, I mean, when you get right down to it, that is the only advice. You just have to write. If you're not writing, any advice that you give, what does it matter?
Yeah, you can
Um,
always fix it if you get it on the page, but you got to get it on the page. And I say this as someone who needs to follow that advice too. So I'm not constantly writing. I'm not writing every day, but that's the goal.
Well, however much you write, you've been focusing on the right parts because Oleander was a fantastic story. Beautiful writing, like excellent prose, very wonderful characters that you could really feel like the empathy that not only they had for each other, but that you as the author had for your characters and your work in general. It really came through. It really had a lot of heart to it and had a lot of emotions wrapped up that translated to me as the reader, and I'm sure to hundreds of other people that I know have read your story now. We've had some comments on it in our community as well that have, people have mentioned that they really liked it, and as well as some of the other stories in the issue. So if you're watching this and you want to read some good stories, I highly encourage you to go read my Elegant Literature. It is free. Kim, your story, what I'm trying to say is it was fantastic, and you well deserve this award.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Um, and so has Elegant Literature been helpful for you, and has it made an impact on your writing? And would you recommend it to other people?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love the whole concept of elegant literature, giving new writers a chance to get exposure, to be published, and the way you pay people is just not. It's kind of unheard of, and for new writers, and it's like I've mentioned, the beautiful artwork, and it's just such a treat to and the excitement you get when you see your words in print. It's just so exciting, and I absolutely love the magazine. I'd recommend it to anyone.
Thank you so much. Funny, you say the beautiful artwork, and I'm just thinking about your two issues have some of the best artwork, in
Yes.
my opinion, of the last sort of year or so. With what is it, the woman, the dear death was the woman trapped under ice, kind of flipped
Hmm.
upside down.
Yep.
I think she's maybe a bride or something like that, and this one being the woman in the warrior woman with the red cape in the snowstorm was I quite liked both of those. Both of those were images
Yes.
I've had on hand for a long time, just waiting for a theme. And more recently, I've started picking my art and kind of figuring out what theme I want based on the art that I want to use for the title. Because I've gotten into some sticky situations where like I had a cool theme, and when it came time to find the title, I could find or the cover, I could find nothing that I wanted, and
Oh
I was like,
no.
ah. And so like some of them, I look back and I'm like, I don't love that image, but like I had
Oh,
no choice.
I've
And so
pretty much
recently.
across the board loved them. I love your covers. They're so cool.
I do have a style that I quite like and I try to adhere to. It's not always possible to find. Hopefully one day I can, have a dedicated artist or something, but that takes a little bit of money and a little bit of time to figure out. But for now, I'm just trying to find, you can hopefully see kind of the style that I go for. I'm trying to make it as cohesive as possible over time. But those two, the Dear Death and the Snowfall and Silence, are particularly of the style that I like. Is kind of like a painting, like a realistic
Hmm.
fantasy painting almost. So I'm very glad to hear that you like them as well, and
Oh
all the
yes.
art. That is fantastic. So thank you again very much for those kind words, and congratulations again. You are you are an award-winning author. You've won the $3,000 grand prize. Plus, you'll be paid the 10 cents a word for your story, among some other things that we'll talk about after this call. So congratulations. I hope you're feeling pretty good about it.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled. I'm just so happy. It's awesome.
Certainly deserve it. Oleander was fantastic. Everybody watching this, Kim, do you have a website that we can promote?
I do have a website. I mean, there isn't much on it, but it's kimaholland.com.
So yeah, we'll get a link to your website. I'm sure that you're going to want to put more on your website. Probably a big award-winning author across the top would be a very good start.
That's a thought.
And I reckon that it's going to start getting filled up with other publications from other prestigious magazines in the near future because Oleander, frankly, could have been published pretty much anywhere, in my opinion. If you keep going with the level of prose there and the quality of emotion in the text, I have no doubt we're going to see a lot more work coming out of your household in the next few months and years, and hopefully forever. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I'll be checking in regularly because I love your work. I'm a fan now,
Thank you.
and I'm sure that some people, will, if they've made it to this far in the video, I think you have more fans than just me, and we know that people are reading your work. So congratulations, you're an award-winning author. It was so lovely to meet you, and I cannot wait to see what you do next.
Thank you. It was so great to meet you too.
Fantastic. And everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching and getting to know Kim a little bit better. As always, if you are a new or emerging writer and you're looking to get published and get paid for it, Elegant Literature pays 10 cents a word for short stories under 2,000 words. And every month we award $3,000 to one new writer. We've given over $200,000 to writers worldwide in the last 4 years. And we have no signs of slowing down. So feel free to go and submit your work either to the contest or to the magazine for free. Read all of our currently 48 issues, which are all free to read. That's just over 480 stories. Yep, 482 stories, I believe, that you can read for free. Should keep you busy for a weekend or so. So thank you very much, and we'll see everybody next time. Kim, thank you for being here. Thank you for such a great conversation. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
All right, have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody.